Dead man walking.
Keep rolling, 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 rolling. 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 Hands up, hands
Giving you the real from A to Z surrounding the Dallas Cowboys. News, updates, rumors, transactions, takes, and more. So strap up, Cowboys Nation, and start your day off with A to Z Sports. Live with Will Steele.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Good morning, good people. Welcome to A to Z Sports Live, presented by the Cochran Firm and Boston Scientific. Streaming live on YouTube and Facebook. And of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker Steele. Now, some of y'all might not know who that was there, but for my wrestling fans, that was the American Badass Undertaker. And his theme starts off with Dead Man Walking. Is that what Kellen Moore is? We'll talk about that today. But the biggest news coming out of yesterday's wire is Dan Quinn returns. That is a celebratory thing in itself. We could have a cookout for that in of itself, but we got to wait for the other shoe to drop. And then even if that shoe does drop, we got to see what happens if they were to replace said shoe. And we'll talk about that a little bit today. I can promise you right now, will not be a long show. Got some things going on behind the scenes, but I will try to get to a few phone calls and fulfill what I have to fulfill here, and we'll keep it moving. But What's good, Bomb Squad? How y'all doing this morning? Let me hit the button real quick.
Bomb Squad!
Really good news for the Cowboys. Really, really good news. Not so much good news for Kellen in regards to head coaching opportunities. And we'll talk about that in the roundup. And like I said, can't be super long today. So we're just going to jump straight into it. I got my Hattie B's hot take coming out of the roundup. And then I want to hear from you guys about this said here coaching move or coaching moves, because I don't think they're done, according to Mike McCarthy in his press conference. And obviously they have to replace the guys that are not coming back. So a lot of changes within the coaching staff that the Cowboys are going to see. But the Dan Quinn one is the one we didn't want to see as a change. And we won't. And that's great news. So let's get to the roundup.
It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time!
It is time for.
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Oh, they do it! Hey, oh, they do it!
Hey, yo. First, we got to start with non-Cowboys news that actually directly ties to Cowboys news. The Panthers elected to go with Frank Reich, the veteran coach out there who was with the Colts, and prior to that, the Eagles won the Super Bowl, helped win the Super Bowl with a backup quarterback in Nick Foles, and they pass on Kellen Moore. Now, that's now the Panthers, the Dolphins, the Vikings, and the Eagles who have elected to pass on Kellen Moore. Now, that's not a surprise to me. To Skywalker still. Teams passing on Kellen Moore is not a surprise. Because I just don't think he's quite yet head coaching material. He's extremely young. But, again, this league is about offensive minds, right? Especially the young offensive minds. So Kellen is going to get that shot. But I keep saying it, and I've said it a couple years ago. Can he win the room? Can he win those people that are responsible for hiring essentially the CEO of that locker room, of that team, of the practice field, of game day? And I don't think Kellen Moore is able to do that. And that's not just me. I mean, clearly other teams are electing to move on from him pass on Kellen Moore. Let me just say that. But will the Cowboys? They asked Mike McCarthy yesterday a couple times about Kellen Moore returning, and this is what he had to say, and he was very agitated about it. He said, I really don't want to play this game today after the second time he was asked about Kellen Moore. It's been a long couple of days. Kellen Moore, just like the rest of the coaches, will be evaluated. Every coach will be evaluated. The evaluations, it takes more than one day. Okay. Non-committal on Kellen Moore. They'll meet today. I actually came away with that, looking at it, that clearly they're not all the way satisfied. Because if he was all in with Kellen Moore, it would have just been a formality. Yeah, we're going to meet with Kellen Moore. We really want to have him back. But if he happens to get a head coaching gig, yada, 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 there would have been way more, I think, positive words for one Kellen Moore out of Mike McCarthy. Now, McCarthy was a bit agitated in general. But nonetheless, when he was asked about Dan Quinn prior to Dan Quinn returning, he said, I feel good about where we are. I think from a staff structure, we'll give Dan Quinn his due time, and hopefully we'll have an answer for you sooner than later. Those are two different answers to me. Those are two different answers. Then, when Dan Quinn announced that he's going to return to Dallas, not he's being passed up on, hey, I'm returning to Dallas. I have unfinished business. And let's be honest, probably looked around the landscape and said, I'm good. I'm good here. And in my hot take, I'll give you a reason why. This is what Mike McCarthy had to say about Dan Quinn returning. He said, quote, we're all extremely excited to have Dan Quinn back. Had a chance to visit with him a short while ago. This is big for us, gives us continuity. Definitely what we've accomplished the last 2 years, building off of that. Frankly, on a personal note, I can't tell you how thankful I am. I think there's a bunch of reasons. I think it's staff. I think it's players. I think he's been a head coach. He understands at this point of his life how hard it is to win a Super Bowl. So I think all of those things play into that. I think clearly Dan is in a position to be selective, and I'm extremely excited about the decision. I think we are, Lord Mike. I think we all are excited about bringing Dan Quinn back. Now, there's a whole lot to take into these coaching moves. Okay. Number one, and let's kind of roll back to start off with Mike McCarthy. I think with the decisions that were made with the Rob Davises and the Joe Philbins of the world and the coaching staff in general, I think we have to come away with basically clarifying that Jerry Jones and them are making those decisions. Cowboy fans, we knew this. Maybe the outside world did not, but it was clear that Mike McCarthy didn't make the decision to let go of Rob Davis. He had a heartfelt, speech or what have you about letting go of Rob Davis. That was his boy. He didn't make that decision. Joe Philbin, I don't even know if he made that decision on Joe, but a decision needed to be made because we have to see what direction we want to go with in regards to the run scheme. But I don't think he made all these decisions to let go of these coaches. I think that was from the top, which you can say is an indictment on McCarthy, but it doesn't surprise us, right? We know that these guys are going to be making those decisions. As for Kellen Moore, and he may be back. He may be back, and this is all a moot point, or he might get a head coach gig somewhere else. But right now, the fact that he's being evaluated and that your head coach is not really being committing to Kellen Moore, or even saying we want to have Kellen Moore back, it tells me that they are not happy with where things are. They are understanding that we've made progress, but we need to make more. We need to be better in X, Y, Z, and we have to see if it's worth bringing this Mike McCarthy, Kellen Moore, Dak Prescott thing back. And they're not getting rid of Dak Prescott, so we know Kellen Moore is a guy they have to be looking at. So I think we'll get an answer fairly shortly too. I think we'll get an answer today. We might get an answer over the weekend or Monday, depending on how they want to roll out the news cycle. Dallas loves being in the news cycle, so this could be a Monday situation. But I'm for this. Even if it's just to put a fire under his ass. You know what I mean? And McCarthy came out in his presser and talked about, listen, we're not going to be the same offense as last year. No offense is. We're going to tweak things and get better and do all these things and whatnot. Okay. That's fine. But I've seen 4 years of this duo together, and I hadn't seen much change. I finally saw you start to utilize Tony Pollard. I saw some tweaks to the whole umbrella coverage situation, but I'm starting to see even worse lack of situational football. And it took Mike McCarthy putting his hands on Kellen Moore's neck just to be balanced from a week-to-week basis. And I don't think Mike McCarthy wants to call plays either. So I don't think that's going to be the case. I think McCarthy is going to probably look at this thing and say, do I want to start over with another coordinator, or do I want to just continue to roll this out because I know at the very least we have this? It's going to be up to Mike. Do you want to attempt to take the leap of faith to get better? Or do you want to say, hey, we just got to tweak a few things and we'll get better in that manner? It's going to be up to Mike, but he's clearly on a damn hot seat. I tell you that. Speaking of hot seat, my hot take today, it's not really a hot take to me, but there was a group of people who believe this certain thing. And I'm basically talking to that group of people, and not coming at you. I'm just going to give you my hot take on why I don't think that's the case anymore. And I never really thought that was the case. But the hot take, Hattie B's hot take, is presented by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. No conversation about the best Nashville-style hot chicken is complete without a serious mention of Hattie B's Hot Chicken, which was founded in Midtown Nashville in 2012. and they now have a new spot downtown Dallas, Deep Ellum, and they serve up the best hot chicken in varying levels of heat, from southern, mild, medium, hot, to hot damn, to the Daredevil's dream, shut the cluck up. So visit their new location in Dallas, or you can order for pickup at HattieB.com. Now here's my hot take. There was a time where many believed that Kellen Moore was next in line to be the head coach of this Dallas Cowboys team, right? He was going to follow Jason Garrett's footsteps because they have a similar path. Retired backup quarterbacks, right after that right after that quarterback's coach, right after that offensive coordinator. No experience whatsoever in calling plays, and it showed, right? It showed its hands from time to time in their early tenures of being play callers, to the point where Jason Garrett got his stripped. Kellen has not got his stripped yet because they were able to maintain a high-scoring offense with their quarterback while he was the coordinator. But I don't think Kellen Moore is the guy for in the Joneses' favor. I don't think he's the Joneses' boy. I think it's Dan Quinn. I think Dan Quinn is much more in line to be the Dallas Cowboys head coach than Kellen Moore. It doesn't mean I'm saying Mike McCarthy is going to get fired right now or anything like that. I'm just saying the fact that they were able to lure Dan Quinn back to the Cowboys twice tells me two things. And Jerry even said this last year. Jerry flat out came out at the, I think it was the press conference or kind of the media mash that they did at the Senior Bowl. He said, "Oh, I believe 100% Dan Quinn could be a head coach of Dallas Cowboys." Just flat out told you that. And then Dan looks around the league and looks at this team and says, "Shit, got me a Micah Parsons here. I already have my quarterback. And if they elect to not go with that quarterback, they can just not renew his contract. I know the structure here. So maybe Dan Quinn is looking at the situation like, man, I love Dallas. I love being here. I feel like if I can get me an offensive coordinator, right, because he did that with Kyle Shanahan, he would want to just stay here." Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I just say that Dan Quinn is more inclined to be the head coach of the Cowboys than Kellen Moore is. And that's not a new thing to me. I never believed Kellen Moore was a guy that could be a head coach right now, and maybe not ever. Maybe he will be one day, but not at this point. I don't think he can lead men. And we know Dan Quinn can lead men. But the main reason why, and this was something that I think went over people's heads at the time, which it shouldn't have. Jerry Jones said, "I don't want to hire a new guy. I don't want to hire a guy that hasn't been in this position before." Kellen Moore has never been in this position. Dan Quinn has been in this position. He's been to the Super Bowl, and he's been to the Super Bowl as a defensive coordinator that realized, give me an OC that can maximize the talents of the guys I got. Kyle Shanahan, who is going on to be one of the best head coaches in the league. So I'm not saying he's going to find another Kyle Shanahan, but he understands the assignment. So Dan Quinn is much more in line, in my opinion, to be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys than Kellen Moore. And that's for the Kellen Moore is next to be the head coach of the Cowboys, which is, listen, I almost got dragged into that a little bit over the years because it looked very similar to Wade Phillips, Jason Garrett, Mike McCarthy, Kellen Moore. It looked very similar. But I was like, the difference is Jason Garrett could win the room. Jason Garrett can win the locker room, and he did. By hook or crook, he did. I can't see that with Kellen Moore. Can't see it, but I can see it with Dan Quinn. All right, let's get to some phone calls. We still got we got a lot actually phone calls on here. I said I'll get to a few, so I'll do some of these here and then we'll lock them up. The Pulse of the Nation hotlines presented by the Cochran Firm. My guys Larry and Brian down there continue to fight for you here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area as well as Houston. It's the weekend, which means a lot of people are going to be out and about. You probably just got paid, but you might get into some type of fender bender. And if you do, call my guys, Larry and Brian, if you need any type of help. They'll help you out. You can contact them at 1-800-THE-FIRM, or you can hit them up with a free consultation at CochranTexas.com, because Cochran cares. James, the truck driver. Good morning, good sir.
Hey, what's good, Sky? How you doing this morning, bro?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, man. Hey, look, the experiment is over. Kellen Moore has to go. If you're talking about keeping Dak, which we are, we're not. He's not going anywhere. And Kellen Moore, we have seen this movie over and over again. They need to fire him, and they need to, because you can't wait to do this. If you're going to do it, you need to go ahead and do it so that you can replace this guy, and so that's going to affect your draft.
Right.
It's going to affect a lot of things. We got to get rid of this guy. His offense is fool's gold, people. It's fool's gold. You know, I don't care about, he had the number one offense. What did he do against San Francisco 2 years in a row? Now, I'm not saying it's all on him because Dak played horrible the last game. Well, he played horrible both games, but Kellen Moore didn't help him out. He doesn't put the players in the best position to win because
and that's the most obvious thing.
A system.
Yeah, I think that's the most obvious thing that goes over people's heads, man. He's not a guy that is elevating the talent. The quarterback is, in my opinion. And when people get upset at the quarterback, it's like, yeah, he has to overcome that. I totally understand that. But why is it when I look at the 4 teams in the playoffs right now, all their coordinators help elevate that talent? And why do we got to overcome our guy? I'm tired of that.
Yeah. And you know what, Scott, is I like that word you use, overcome. Dan Quinn has to overcome his mess.
Look, hold on, look.
I mean,
that is so Dan Quinn, right? Dan Quinn has shown you in Dallas over the last 2 years that he actually elevates his talent. Like this defense is not chock full of Pro Bowlers over the last 2 seasons. It's not. And he's made guys that are 6-round picks or journeyman guys integral parts of a defense to the point where people are saying, man, we can't be without this guy. That's how good Dan Quinn has been at his job. Can you confidently say that about Kellen Moore?
No, you cannot. I mean, I'm done with it, man. I mean, I'm done with it, man. I've seen it. We've seen it. I mean, how much more do we have to see? You know, his time management is horrible. Now, I would think that time management, you don't need to hire somebody just for time management. That should go on the OC.
That would be the head coach, I think. You're talking about clock management.
Okay.
But situational football. That's the term. And this isn't new. This ain't got nothing to do with San Fran. San Fran they just got dude's number. It is what it is. This, if you've been watching this show, we're talking about this all year, about situational football. And the same thing happened last year, except for I think the offense was even worse last year in regards to the game plan and scheming of things. But this is not new for me, so I don't want anybody to think that.
Yeah. And I'm going to say this last thing, and I'm going to roll out. Mike McCarthy does not – I'm not going to say he doesn't want him here, but he did not get a stamp of approval at all. At all. I mean, I if you ask me, I don't think Mike McCarthy wants him here. I don't think he wants to deal with this again. And that's all I got, Scott.
I don't think
you have
you're
a
wrong.
good day, good weekend, and go Cowboy Nation. Fire Mike McCarthy should be the thing. I'm sorry. Fire Kellen Moore should be the theme for this offseason until he is out of here. And I'm out of here, Scott. I get at you.
Appreciate you. Good call. Let's keep it moving. I saw Russell yesterday. I didn't get a chance to get him in, so we'll get him in today. Mr. Russell D.
Hey, what's going on, Will? I've been wanting to get in to talk to you for a while. I've been so busy with work and stuff, but I just wanted to get in today. I had off today, so I had a chance to get in.
All good. We got you, brother.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate all you do.
Thank you.
Real quick, I just wanted to comment on a couple things, and then I'll go off. But I wanted to comment on yesterday's thing, and then it was finally covered. You really all this stuff about Dak Prescott. I'm just so sorry. I mean, I felt awful. I moved on from supporting him, but you can't all this wild, wacky stuff. Everybody just wanting to cut and get rid of him. You just can't do that. You can't do that with the salary cap and logical way. You got to keep him. And the one thing that the fans never bring up, no one's bringing up at all, is This is Dak's first year of turnovers. He never turned the ball over like this before, never. There's got to be a reason why.
Oh, 100.
And I still boil it down. Go ahead.
You're right. I'm gonna tell you the reason why in a second, but go ahead.
It all boils down to that, I think, and no one can really tell me differently, because the same thing happened to Russell Wilson. That thumb injury, I still believe it has something to do with his accuracy, because his accuracy's never been off like it is now. I've never seen his accuracy off like this.
I think his accuracy was improved this year, but that's just.
Well, towards the end of the year when he came back from that thumb injury, I don't know. It just seems to me like he was just off. He wasn't himself. Like he couldn't control his command as much. But like you said before, when you were looking to see what the fans said, what answers they had. The only thing that the Cowboys really can do with Dak is just that try to fix him. You got to get rid of Kellen Moore. That's just the answer to what today's show is. That he's got to go. He's got to move on from him. They're just not. They don't gel together. They don't work together. That's first of all. But
they gel together because they friends. But when it comes to football, I just don't think he's the best for him. No.
Yeah, you got to roll. You got to roll with Dak the next 2 years. And just try to fix them, and you're going to have to. The only thing you could really do is draft a quarterback and go the Green Bay route, like Green Bay does all the time. When they feel like it's going to be time to move on from their guy, they draft somebody. I think Dallas has got to really look at that this year or next year. Really look at who's going to be their next guy, and whether it's a second-round pick or a third-round pick, one of these first-round guys falls the second round. Like Jalen Hurts, he dropped way down. Actually, Dallas almost had a chance to take him if they wanted to take him.
But Jalen Hurts, and that's true. But see, and this is the point that's going to get missed. Jalen Hurts ain't Jalen Hurts without I forget his name, Steichen, the offensive coordinator, and Nick Sirianni letting go of play calling and letting Steichen do what's best for his quarterback. Jalen Hurts put in Kellen Moore's system. I would love to see that. I would laugh.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think they don't allow each other to do their thing. Like he doesn't play to his strengths, like Dak, strengths at all. I was kind of getting a little excited with the Tampa Bay game because he let him run. He let him run a little bit. He doesn't hardly ever run, and he's so great at maneuvering and running.
Right. And when you look at the red zone, play calling, I called it being in his bag. I thought he was in his bag in that game. Go look at the red zone play calling in San Fran. It's not the case.
Yeah, and then the one thing I knew you might have the answer for me is one thing that was bugging me from that game is what was Turpin thinking on that kick return that he was just going for? I don't understand what he was thinking. Did his vision get blocked at one point? Because he should have scored a touchdown on that. There's no way that should not have been a touchdown.
I know this is going to sound crazy as hell, bro, but Turpin was a disappointment.
Absolutely.
It was a disappointment to me.
A roster spot.
How the hell did he not score a touchdown this year? All them times he was one dude away. It was like, yo, Turp, where you going, man? But,
yeah. I said to my son, there's no way that he should come back. He says, why? He led the league in return yards. I said, because he gives up a roster
He did not
spot.
lead the league in return yards. He didn't lead the league in return yards in any punt or kick return. And it was, how many times have you saw a kick returner of that magnitude, that explosive, not try to outrun somebody to the edge? I felt like I was watching Turpin like, why you keep trying to go up the middle, my guy? Bro, hit the outside. Nobody's going to catch you. You're extremely fast. And he just never did it.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't get that. One last thing, I want to get your point on this. So do you think that if Dak doesn't turn the ball over those 2 times, we win that game?
At least one. Listen, I put at least one turnover may happen. That's the best defense in football, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to say just one. Give me one. One of them. Yeah. And I would say the one would be when we were in the red zone.
Second and two.
Second and two. Yep, that one. That's the one.
Inside route.
The first one, whatever. That but the second one, that was points we had points in our pocket.
Yeah. Yeah, but I tell you what, it's all doom and gloom for us after the game. But I tell you what, though, one thing that made me feel good is that, and hopefully we can there's key players. There's like five key players. They got to do all they can do to keep, and then the rest can just walk. But like the Flowers and them, they can just walk. We'll still get by just fine. There's like Wilson, you got to keep him. Pollard, I mean, depending on how bad his injury is, you got to keep him. Schultz, you got to keep him. You got to try to keep him.
You got to check out Monday's show or Tuesday. I cannot remember what day it was. Maybe it was Tuesday. Tuesday's show. We talked about that the free agents we had. Pretty good show.
Yeah, and so the thing that made me feel good after I calmed down and settled down after Sunday's loss was that we can play bully ball right with San Francisco. We can go blow to blow. We have no problem with doing that. Our defense played outstanding.
Defensively we could. Offensively, we couldn't play bully ball. We couldn't run. Another thing that's going to get, and obviously because of Dak's performance, we had 21 rushing yards in the second half.
Yeah.
I think we ran the ball like 4 times. Like, you completely became one-dimensional and said, we're going to be one-dimensional against the best defense in the league with Noah Brown as wide receiver 2, and we're not going to do anything schematically. Go do this thing, Dak. And he didn't do it.
Yeah.
So
he didn't. And all he had to do was just playing a little bit more clean football, and we would have done it. We could have definitely moved on.
Yeah, we could have beat them. Even with how bad the game was, I think you still could have had a chance to beat them.
And which is a glimmer of hope. Let's just hope and see. What do you think about Steele? You think he comes back?
100%. I mean, he's a restricted free agent.
What? Oh, he is also good. So even if he does go, someone might be willing to give up. You don't think so?
No.
Oh, that'd be good. That'd be good to keep him because he did an outstanding job this year. He was definitely good. He helped our run game tremendously.
Yeah, it was missed.
Tremendously.
Yeah, it was missed, man.
Do you let Tyron Smith go?
Put a pin in that. Put a pin in that.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about all that probably over the coming weeks.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate letting me get on, and I appreciate all you do, and I'll continue to listen today. Have a good one.
Thanks, Russ.
Enjoy
Appreciate
your day.
You. Yep. I wanted to talk about he brought up the turnovers, which again it was an anomaly of a season, and I think the easiest explanation. I mean, it's not a coincidence to me that you saw more tight window throws this season, and the Cowboys had some tight window throws last year too, believe it or not, than you ever have in the Dak Prescott era. Combine that with Michael Gallup, Dennis Houston, Jalen Tolbert, James Washington, Noah Brown, Simi Falco, all these guys, and most of them in play. Are your weapons opposite of CD Lamb? What you think gonna happen? What you think gonna happen on some of them? Now, obviously, we know we're talking about some of the tip balls or whatever. We're not even really talking about those ones. Just kind of those tight window ones that we saw here. Now, this is a total EPA on targets for Dallas Cowboys pass catchers in 2022. This is pretty pathetic. At the top there, T.Y. Hilton's number 2. T.Y. Hilton got here around Christmas. Jake Ferguson's a rookie. Tony Pollard was disgustingly underutilized as a pass catcher. And Malik Davis didn't see a single touch when Tony Pollard went down. Those are your top guys. A dude who got here in Christmas, a rookie backup tight end, Tony Pollard, and Malik Davis. Michael Gallup, Ezekiel Elliott, and Dalton Schultz were among the worst in total EPA on targets for the Dallas Cowboys this year. It's not a coincidence to me. You do one of two things. Either you improve the scheme or you improve the guys around him if you're going to have this same scheme. Or this same thing I think is going to happen. You're going to get a lot of tightly contested windows. You're going to get a lot of no separation. And your quarterback is going to have to be on point every single damn time. There is no room for error. There's no room. And that's on him. That's something he's got to, I'm a Dallas Cowboys quarterback. This is what I got. Can't make those errors. Can't make those mistakes. T.Y. Hilton, Jake Ferguson, Tony Pollard, Malik Davis after CD Lamb amassed the total EPA on targets. T.Y. Hilton got here in week 15. It's a joke, man. It's an absolute joke. Coach Mar, what's up, man?
Hey, Scott, what's going on, brother?
How you doing?
Long time no talk to, man. Hey, man, I don't get a chance to listen to you in the morning as much, man, but I know when I do get a chance to go back and look at your stuff, man, y'all still doing a great job.
Thank you.
Man, listen, I think me and you had conversations early in the season. I said I was concerned about the route combinations and the passing game. And I've always said this, and I've been saying this for a while. We have a pass happen coordinator that's really not a great pass design coordinator. So those two has recipes for destruction in the most pivotal moments, and when you get to a point where your tendencies are already so glaring that teams kind of, even the bad teams kind of hone in on them, and that's a credit to Dak Prescott that we have done so well with this offensive talent. And I know the receiver talent is not what we say, but offensive line and running backs, and with Dak Prescott, we have made do to make this offense rank where it ranks. But if you look inside the numbers, when you look at the bigger games and the bigger moments, we have lulls in our game plan in doing games that we really get bogged down. I don't know if this fool's gold that Mike McCarthy is about, really thinking about, getting
Moving
rid of
forward,
Kellen Moore. I don't know if that's just something that just to kill the critics of Kellen Moore. But I do say this, man. If you look back in history, and I always think that history always repeats itself, and sometimes good history needs to repeat itself. I go back a long ways with the Cowboys, and I remember back in the heyday of the 90s where the Cowboys were in their first playoff run when they first started to come back, and Jimmy Johnson decided to pull the plug on his offensive coordinator after they had a playoff run and go to a guy named Noah Turner because he felt Noah Turner could get the most out of Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Michael Irvin. Well, history said that he did get the best out of those guys and put those guys in the best situations.
I mean,
as well as the talent.
And that's what I've seen across the league. But for some odd reason, our fans, we need an easy go-to, right? There's no one answer, but there is, in my opinion, ways to become better when you have a guy that's a top 10 guy. And I look around the league and I see what Brian Dable was able to do for Josh Allen and Daniel Jones. I see what Ben Johnson was able to do for Jared Goff, who everybody written off. Now people talk about trade Dak Prescott for Jared Goff, right? I've seen what Andy was able to do for an Alex Smith, and was able to win a playoff game when his top guy went out with, I forget the dude's name last year, a couple years ago, who it was, the Moore kid. And I've seen what Sean McVay was able to do with guys that were labeled losers in Detroit, came to a loaded team in a scheme, and boom, he leads the league in touchdowns and they win a Super Bowl, right? Like, it's the evidence is there that if you got a really good quarterback, the same thing with Drew Brees when he goes with Sean Payton, the evidence is there. If you got a good quarterback, you got to get a guy that can excel, that can help excel him and the guys around him, not just him, but the guys around him. It's an easy answer. But our venom is going to be pointed towards one specific person, when in reality, your venom is your venom because of what has been happening for 30 years in Dallas, and the real venom should be spewed to a guy that sits up in the booth. But that's another discussion for another day.
Yeah, but you're so right with that, Scott, because I think, and we want to talk about recent history. I remember the Cowboys saying when they first brought Mike McCarthy in, that they didn't bring back Rob Malinelli and most of his staff because they felt that the defense had gotten vanilla because we had Mark Malinelli for so long, and it had gotten figured out, and they wanted to go a different direction with a new voice. okay, the first person they brought in didn't work out, but then they brought Dan Quinn in, and then they allowed him to build his defense with the parts that he wanted, and now you got a fresh and new defense, which has really come up and became a lot better because you got out the staleness. If you look at this offense, Sky, this offense is still basically has the same terminology that it has from the person that groomed that Kellen Moore played under.
McCarthy admitted that.
And it's very hard unless you have had an offense that's well over the top for you to do the same stuff for 7, 8 years. And even the greatest of quarterbacks, even the Tom Brady's had guys, 3 to 4 different offensive coordinators that helped mold Tom Brady into who he was because they gave him new looks, new things, and they had to evolve. I think it's time for this offense to evolve. And I've always said, and I think I asked you this question on many months ago, and you kind of agreed, can Kellen Moore take Dak Prescott to the next level? And my last thing I want to say, Sky, in my years of coaching, I found out one thing, and I was taught this. You can develop a player with playing time by putting them in the fire. Coaches of how they have to scheme have to go through their development through the bottom level, or if you're going to put them in the major level like coordinators, you have to really be an iron hand like an Andy Reid and really, really control it and let them learn the job, but you really control it. You don't put coordinators in a coordinator position and then say, okay, I'm going to let you develop, because you're losing the window of your great players.
Yeah. That's been the theme here in Dallas. It's been a theme here in Dallas, man. Appreciate you, Coach Moore.
All right, brother. Keep pushing, brother.
Thank you, sir. See, my guy, Will Burney. If you really want to break down the second interception, we can break it down. But what's the point? Because you have your mind made up. You have your mind already made up on that. And trying to break down things and compartmentalize things and explain things and give context to things, the easy out for everybody like that is, excuses. When even if I could say, hey, man, bad throw, he played bad or whatever, it's excuses when I start to break down things or when people start to use logic and context and things like that. Y'all don't want to hear nothing else. I can give you a reason why that play is in part Kellen Moore and Dak Prescott. But the thing is, do you even want to hear that? Do you even want to hear it? I don't think you do. I think you just want to hear Dak Prescott sucks. I'm trying Dak Prescott, get rid of Dak Prescott, Dak Prescott, Dak Prescott, Dak Prescott, Dak Prescott, Dak Prescott. That's all you want to hear. That's all people want to hear. Football, Super Bowls, constant winning organizations, it's not just one guy, man. It's not. But if you truly want to hear about that play, we could talk about it, because it should have never even been put in that damn situation to begin with. But that's up to you. Okay, so I will bring it up. T.Y. Hilton was not wide open. Oh, the play when T.Y. Hilton was wide. Again, see, this is the thing. No offense to you, sir. No offense to you at all. Because some people don't understand quarterbacking. They don't understand football in that from X's and O's standpoint. Kurt Warner broke that down for you. Super Bowl winning Hall of Fame coach. Dude, I won't even need to explain it, Will. I'll just give it to you, and then you can say, and you can see what was going on with that. T.Y. Hilton's not the read. T.Y. Hilton is not the read. The blitz is coming this way. You are taught and told to throw into the blitz because that's where the opening is going to be. And by the way, kudos to the San Francisco 49ers, first of all. I mean, we can never give props to the other team. But kudos to the San Francisco 49ers. Made the correct read. Put the damn throw on the money to CeeDee Lamb. Just dropped it. And then Fred Warner obviously was in the way, but Fred Warner didn't get his hands on the ball. So what you wanted him to do, and I broke this down yesterday, was to come off of the blitz read, which you're not taught to do. Again, teaching, coaching. You're not taught to come off that. This man is bearing down on you to then redirect his vision this way and try to get the ball off without getting smacked. These are the things. Like, people don't care about these things. People don't care. Dak Prescott sucks. That's it. And that's why I just go watch Kurt Warner if you want to see him break it down. He also breaks down plays where Dak missed, but those two plays you're explaining to me, we can break down the play. It's just why? Because you don't care. You don't care. B Bird, what's good, man?
Hey, what's up, Scott? How you doing, bro?
I'm all right, bro.
All right. Hey, so I want to comment on something that Coach Moore said. He's saying that, they changed from Marinelli, defense coordinator, and they did that pretty easy. But the thing is that Kellen Moore is personal to them. You know what I'm saying? It's him and Jason Garrett. It's personal, and it's hard for those guys. They bet on those guys to be these boy wonders or whatever, and they're going to give them every bit of time because it's attached to their reputation. And so that's why they're doing this. If they would just do what they do on defense, saying it's not working, hey, let's get somebody else in, we wouldn't have a problem at all. But that's not the reason I called, man. Again, I'll have to say this, that I'm not a Dak Prescott, 10 on Dak Prescott. I'm probably 7.5. But the slander that he's gotten since this game, to me, is just kind of unfounded. I think part of the reason why, Dak is late on throws or this, that, and other, it's the option route. It depends. Option route, the quarterback and the wide receiver have to read the defense the same way. And to me, man, he's really just he's clutching and doing other things. He don't trust that the wide receiver is going to be where he's supposed to be. And he's not trying to throw the ball, ahead of time. And so I see that in the game, but I understand you got to have some option routes. Mike McCarthy said during the year that he doesn't like them at all.
He hates them.
And it shows you right there. That statement tells me that you don't really have control of the team. A head coach should go tell the offensive coordinator, don't run that no more. He doesn't have control of the offensive coordinator because he didn't hire the offensive coordinator. And that goes to a more systemic deal. I like to tell you this, man. Dak Prescott is better than Purdy. Dak Prescott is better than Hurts. The issue is that San Francisco organization as a whole is better than the Cowboys. Philadelphia organization as a whole is better than the Cowboys. We're talking front office, coaches, and players. It's just that simple, y'all. You can't look. Let me tell you where this thing was. Let me tell you where this thing was lost at. This game last week was lost in the offseason, where we let Amari Cooper go and didn't get anybody else to replace him. Now you'll say Lyle being gone was good. We got to upgrade. That's true. But what did Dallas go out and say? Let's go upgrade this roster. They didn't do it. They tried to do addition by subtraction. That doesn't work. Why do I know that doesn't work? Because Philly, we got A.J. Brown. You see what I'm saying? Good teams go out and get players. And I'm going to say this, man. I wasn't even going to say this. The reason why that happens, because in Philadelphia, the GM has to win to keep his job.
Yes.
So he's not playing around with no 5-year plan, no 10-year plan of making money. Stephen Jones can look in 10 years and say, I'm still going to be here. That guy in Philadelphia said, I need to win to keep my job. And that's the pressure that you need your front office guys under to be successful. You need them GMing for their job, coaching for their job, and vice president for their job. And so the Cowboys could make moves like they did last year without repercussions.
Yep.
Jerry says, I am so responsible for this. I am outraged. But what does your outrage mean on the field? It means nothing if there's no comeback for the failure. And it's nothing for the failure. Stephen Jones can go out there and go 0-17 or 17-0. He's still going to be with the Cowboys the next year. And he knows that. That's why during free agency, they go on a yacht trip. If this is any other organization, you spot your GM on a yacht trip doing free agency, you lose your mind. And it's crazy. But
Jerry said during the season, when they asked him, about all the media coverage, he said, nationally, well, if they're talking about us, we're doing our job. Like,
So we're the Kardashians now.
That's crazy. Like, you're doing your job if they're talking about you. Not your job isn't to try to put together the best team to win a Super Bowl every single year. That's not your job. Your job is to get them to talk about you. Okay.
It's to generate money, and if you, by the way, win a championship along the way, then that's good. But what it is, you're running against teams who are who have one goal, and that's to win a championship, not to generate money. If money comes from that, then that's good. But the thing about back to Dak again, man, is he's falling. He's taking a lot of lumps, and he should, But the thing about it is, Dak has to get off this. Hey, I'm a team player. I'm going to go with. He needs to have pushback like Rodgers, man. And go in there and say, no, I need more wide receivers. I need more wide receivers. I need tight ends. I need running backs. I need something around me, man. What y'all putting around me isn't fair, and I'm taking the blows. And you see how the front office is allowing him to take those blows too. Ain't nobody come to say anything to his defense or anything else too. And hopefully this will tell him that, no, man, they're going to have you being a fall guy around here. So I'll tell you this, and I'm going to get off. The 2 years left with Dak. And I told you this the other day, it's so simple to me. You have to get other wide receivers around him, man. You can't just have CD.
We said that last year, B-Bird. Yeah. It wasn't new. It wasn't a problem. Getting rid of Cooper was never the issue. It was, okay, now what? Right? Like, I'm pissed you got rid of him for peanuts, but please go do something to rectify this horrible trade. And they didn't. And your front office is admitting to you in your face they messed up, but nobody cares about the context. It's the result. And it's going to be put on, like you said, the one person. But they clearly admitted to you, we didn't do enough to put around that guy. But goddamn it, I hope like hell he can save us in the playoffs. And in week 1, he did something that never was done in 30 years. They won a playoff game on the road, right? And in week 2, ran up against we've been saying this forever. When you run up against one of them ones, are you going to be able to bring that bag, and are you going to be able to overcome it? And he didn't. And yes, we've talked about how he did not play a good game, but now we got to also talk about everything else that happened around that game. Notice, no one's talking about how poor Ezekiel Elliott was. Notice, no one's talking about the Trayvon Diggs dropping that interception. Notice, nobody's talking about how terrible the offensive line was in run blocking. Notice, nobody cares about that because those are contexts and those are things around the rest of the game that nobody cares about because that quarterback, his name is Dak Prescott.
Well, Scott, you know what I look back at? And I want the chat to understand this. The last time another wide receiver caught a ball in that game was the first play of the second quarter. Every other pass was to Schultz, a completion to Schultz or CeeDee Lamb. The first play of the second quarter. So we got 3 quarters of wide receivers not catching balls until the last play of the game, man. And so that tells you everything that you need to know about our wide receiver group, man. It's not good. It hadn't been good. And again, they lost this game in the offseason when they didn't make any moves to upgrade that position, man. Hey, I appreciate the time, Scott. I just want to tell you that Dak's going to be here for 2 more years, man. And we got to I think we can win with that. The 2 quarterbacks that's playing an NFC championship game right now are there because their organization is better. Our organization has to get better for us to be there. Our quarterback is better than those guys, but their organization support and everything else is top notch, man. And I'm a get off, man. I'll listen to you later, brother.
That's facts, but nobody cares. You know how what's the dude's name? Jason Kelce after they won a Super Bowl. Nobody likes us, and we don't care. Those are people that hate Dak Prescott right now. I don't care about context. We don't care. Just get rid of him, and everything will be fine. But then when you start peeling back the disdain they have for the quarterback, you start to realize it ain't the quarterback you upset with, man. It ain't the quarterback you upset with. You upset with the organization, right? But you can't really. You don't want to spit your venom at the organization because they're not on the field, and that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, Spock. B-Bird always make great points. He said Cowboys trade away Coop for a 5th, no consequences. Titan general manager trade away A.J. Brown for a 1st and got fired. Got fired. I was just having this conversation with my brother yesterday. And we had this conversation last year, B-Bird. And others. There's no pressure on the Joneses. There's none. If the Joneses happen to be another general manager, I guarantee you they pull the trigger on a Brandon Cooks or a Jerry Jeudy because they're like, shit, man, we got to get this done. It's 27 years. No other general manager in their right mind would be the general manager 27 straight years with this type of resume. Not happening. It's not happening. All right, man, we get a couple more here. Gotta get going. Bro, if you in the chat, I'm gonna call you in a second, man. 205. What's good, man?
What's happening with the Sky?
Hey, landlord from Alabama. What's up, bro?
What's going on, man? Hey, when I called the Invite show the other day, I heard your point. I kind of answered it on the show, on my show, but I wanted to expound on it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
When we were talking about Dak Prescott, and we was like, when I was saying like it's on him because he won't speak up for himself, and you was like, you had a great point. I said that on the show. I was like, Sky had a great point when you was like, Dak ain't got that kind of pull. But, man, he got to do something, though, Sky. He got to do something, man. Because, look, I said a great metaphor for this situation. I said, man, Dak going to sit up here and try to be a good captain and drown with the ship. And it's Jerry and Steven going to watch him sink from their yacht. That's what's going to happen. And he's sitting up there just taking all the bullets. You know what I'm saying? And now I hope he realized this year that all the blame is going to you, Dak. We don't care how much of it you trying to absorb for the team. Nobody cares. They pointed at you. But what I was seeing on film, though, man, when I seen that last interception to CD, bro, listen, people making these surface level arguments saying that, oh, Dak gets to decide who he's throwing the ball to. Yeah, that's elementary. We know that. But look at this. If you look at that route, man, that was obviously a option route. Because, look, that body was turned the whole opposite way. Tell me what quarterback's going to throw the ball that way.
And this is the thing, right? Like, we could have broke this thing down. I actually would rather you go watch QB School break that play down. It was clear.
Yeah.
It was obviously clear that he was expecting CD Lamb to come back play side.
In the inside.
Yes, back play side away from Ward. And again, we can break this down even more where DMV did a fantastic job showing that around that same area of the field, they lined up in that same type of set, and they ran that same type of route with CD Lamb for a completion.
Hello?
You there? Hello? Landlord.
Hello?
Yeah, landlord, you there? Uh-oh.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. They can hear you,
Dang.
but you can't hear me all of a sudden. All right, well, landlord, try to call back in. We'll finish the conversation here in a second. But that's come back in, landlord. That specific play. First of all, there were mirror routes on both sides of the field. I think they called it a peak wheel on the inside guys, and then the outside guys ran post. All right, here he goes. He's coming back. Landlord, you good?
Yeah, my bad.
It's
yeah,
cool.
man, I don't know what's going on, man. But
what I was explaining about the play was if you watch it, and like the dude from QB School said, you can see Dak is squared up for him to come back to the inside of the route so that he can throw it to CD Lamb. It had been a catch. And instead, CD went out, and what Ward did smartly, and probably D'Amico Ryans picked it up, or Ward picked it up and said, well, shit, they ran this same route earlier in this same part of the field, and CD Lamb never broke inside. He sat down. So I'm going to wait for CD Lamb to come out, and Dak came back, and great play by Ward, tipped it up, got the interception. I mean, sometimes the defense makes a great play as well. But no one wants to hear the breakdown of it. But go ahead.
Look, this is simple, though. Look, People saying that he get to decide who throws in the football. Man, that's elementary football, man. Look,
and see,
just like we just
got
said,
an excuse.
Scott, look.
We got an excuse, but bro, we're just breaking it down. It was just breaking it down.
But this is simple, Scott. This is simple. This is elementary. Look, if Dak the only one decided to throw the football, right? Listen what we telling you. The option route has basically crippled him. Because Dak did the right read and he made the right option. He chose the right person. CeeDee Lamb ran the wrong route, y'all. And everybody just trying to throw bullets at this man. That is foolishness, man. We got to stand up for truth.
Listen.
I'm sorry, man.
Landlord,
I'm sorry. We got to stand up for truth, bro.
The actual decision.
We can't just let this boy go out like that, man.
For that specific play, the actual decision to throw doesn't even make, like, to throw it to CeeDee Lamb is not even it's not even the bad part. The part, if you want to get real pissed off about, is, bro, just run. Because I feel like if he just ran, I'm more upset he didn't run. I'm not upset he threw it to CeeDee Lamb. That's where the read directed you to go. It's just a hell of a play by Ward and a miscommunication by Dak and CD. And how many times have we said that this year? How many? Yes, he had 15 interceptions this year. And I totally understand at least half of those are on him. But we also understand the other half is on a whole bunch of goddamn miscommunications, and that comes down to scheme and communication with your receiver. We got to fix that up. That's why I'm confident if they bring in a new coordinator, you ain't going to see no damn 15, 17 interceptions.
Fact. Dak ain't never been that guy, Scott.
No.
Dak ain't never been that guy. So this is what I want them to see. Like, bro, like you just said, man, the option routes, like, bro, we know Dak is not the greatest quarterback in the NFL, and he also don't have the greatest arm in the NFL. So you know what that means? For him to make the throws properly, bro, your mechanics got to be on point. If you don't have just the natural arm talent, your mechanics got to be on point. And guess what's messing up his mechanics? These option routes. Option routes.
I would go a little bit further. I would say the decision making has to be the most on point, because a lot of the times you can't. There's obviously plays where you can scan, and he does that very well. Hell, on that play, he literally scanned. But then there's plays where you got like mirrored routes or these hooks where there is no coming back. You can't possibly go from left to right on a 5-yard curl and be like, I'm going to throw it to the left side when I started at the right, because that's pick city waiting to happen. That's pick city.
Yeah, I was just speaking kind of physically then, Sky. I'm just saying like him physically making the throw. You know, some of these bigger arm quarterbacks might be able to throw the ball across their body and still make the throw. You see what I'm saying? But Dak he needs his mechanics to be right. So guess what's messing up his decision making and his mechanics? These option routes. Dak gotta look. You already got limited time from being a quarterback in the pocket. We already got one of the worst pass blocking offensive lines in football. He got to sit up here and hope to God that this wide receiver runs the correct route. Now think about this. Dak get all the blame, right? Tell me, if you're a smart defensive coordinator, all you got to do is trick one of them. You got two people reading on one play. That's foolishness. And Dak gets all the blame. Like, all he got to do is trick CeeDee Lamb. He ain't even got to trick Dak. Think about that. He literally don't even have to trick Dak for Dak to get the interception. If you're a smart defensive coordinator, think about this, bro. Who you think watched the most film, Sky? Let's just be real. Who watched the most film between a wide receiver and a quarterback?
A quarterback.
And why all you got to do, look, these little read routes you got the wide receiver, it's messing your wide receivers up too, having choices. Because, look, if you reading and thinking, you're not going fast. You can't. You can't run fast if you're trying to read something, Scott. You can't. You know what I'm saying? And all they got to do is, okay, say for instance, this going to be quick. For a defensive coordinator, man, if you reading the depth of the safety or the depth of a linebacker, what if he kind of in between, kind of in limbo? What the wide receiver going to do?
This going to go over many people's heads, Landlord. I hear what you're saying. But people don't really care about the nuances of the game of football. It's just, hey man, did Dak get it done or not? Yeah.
You right, but the only answer I can say, man, and I'm gonna let you go, is okay. If you hate Dak, if you feel like Dak is the worst quarterback of all time, go get the man some weapons, man. People forget that Dennis Houston was the star wide receiver for this man. Like, That's a problem.
Yeah, I'm gonna address that. Appreciate you, landlord.
Already, man.
I'm gonna say this, man, because I keep hearing that. Who's my coordinator? Who's my coordinator? Because, and that is true, right? Like, if Kellen Moore is going to be back, right, then, yeah, you got to go get me more weapons, and then you just hope for the best. But I don't really know how much changes from a schematic standpoint, even with an Amari Cooper or DeAndre Hopkins. You're still going to be dealing with, in my opinion, things you have to overcome from a coordinator standpoint. But you're better equipped to overcome it. That's why I said, hey, man, get rid of Cooper is a bad idea, because you don't have those guys to elevate the scheme. Dak was the guy, in my opinion, to elevate the scheme. And then when it comes to having to deal with better coordinators, better defenses, you're going to need those dudes to be dudes. And you went up against a team full of dudes, a coordinator who was a dude, and you had 1.5 dudes, right? You had CD Lamb, and then Tony Pollard went down. So now your guy has to rise up, and he did not rise up. We're admitting that. But who's my coordinator? I'd rather switch the damn coordinator. Yes, still go get guys, but get me a coordinator that can do what that Steichen did, even though they went out and got guys too, that can do what Shanahan did. Let me ask you this question. If Kyle Shanahan, if you switch staffs offensively, and Brock Purdy had to run Kellen Moore's staff or Kellen Moore's system against the Dallas Cowboys defense, what do you think would have happened? Just curious. What do you think would happen? Let me get time. Let me get one more. There's a lot of people here I do not know, and I try to give them some chances here. I know there's people in here that have called in, but I want to give some people I do not know some chances. I don't know 469. Austin, I think, is the name.
Yeah, I'm tired of the Dak excuses, and I know we're going to go forward with him at quarterback, but
yeah, all the excuses.
you look at week 2 when Cooper Rush. I mean, I believe they didn't have Michael Gallup, they didn't have their Tyron Smith was out. I want to say Biotish was out.
No, Biotish was in.
They found out a way. Yeah, I don't know. One of the offensive linemen, I think. And they found out,
Tyron
or
Smith.
they came up with a win, against the Bengals, and I believe Cooper Rush won like 2 or 3 games without Gallup, and and I know we're going to go forward with Dak. I think
you want to go forward with Cooper Rush?
No, I'm not saying that. I mean, if we're going to keep Kellen Moore, I think there seriously needs to be maybe a quarterback competition, but that's probably not going to happen. We're going to move forward with Dak, but it's like the year before we had 3 number 1 receivers plus Cedric Wilson, and
well, you didn't have that in the playoffs. I know people like to say that, but that's false. You did not have 3 number 1 receivers. You did not have a good running game. You did not have a good offensive line. You had CD Lamb, Amari Cooper, Dak Prescott, and said, go try to do it, and he didn't get it done. That's what you had. Tony Pollard was not involved.
Yeah.
Your offensive line got whooped. They did not get CD Lamb involved the same way they got CD Lamb involved this year. And Amari Cooper was the only one who played well in that game. Dak Prescott and Amari connected a few times in that game.
Well, and also Kellen Moore didn't get CD Lamb involved in that game.
Didn't get Tony Pollard.
Him and Pollard.
Yeah,
Pollard the most. And that's the thing I want to go back to. It's like you look at the week 2 win with against the Bengals, where Cooper Rush, didn't have a lot, on offense. And it's like when Pollard went down, it's like Dak can't even lift up, the team 1.5, and Cooper Rush was able to do it the whole game. Not saying
he wasn't able to do it the whole game. See, if we want to have revisionist history, we can, but I don't want to do that because I don't want to take away from Cooper Rush getting that win in week 2, which teams are not the same in week 2 as we realize. Your running game was elite at that time in week 2, right? You scored 14 points in the first half and 6 in the second half. So it wasn't like you were doing anything in that second half either. But your defense came through. Cooper Rush made 2 passes to get you in field goal range, and you won in week 2. Let me ask you something. Do you think Cooper Rush is your quarterback moving forward for a 16-game season?
I don't want to say that. I think they should re-sign him and keep him as a backup. But I think we're taking the whole wrong approach as far as how we can elevate Dak. I don't think it needs to be, take a receiver in the first round or sign. You look at Dak's best years, 2016 and 18, we had a running game. And I think the whole, we need three,
and that's the thing. I don't,
three number one receivers.
And that's why I said, sir, I don't care about getting three number one receivers or all these. Getting all the weapons that's fine. I love it. Everybody would love to have all the weapons in the world. I'd much rather have one of the best schemes in the world, surrounded by maybe you got a couple A level talents, and then it's surrounded by a bunch of B's and C's. Because if you go look over there in Kansas City, they lost one of their A talents, but they surrounded them with a bunch of B talents, and they have a fantastic scheme, right? Like that's what I'd rather have. I don't need to have DeAndre Hopkins, Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb. I don't need to have all three of those dudes. I just need a guy that knows how to get the best out of the guys that they do have from a coordinating standpoint. And if that can't happen, then I need my quarterback to elevate a Noah Brown and what have you in the biggest moments. And he wasn't able to do that, but I find it hard to look around the league and show me quarterbacks that are going to take Noah Brown, Michael Gallup on one damn leg, a no running game, right? You didn't run the ball, and say we're going to go to the Super Bowl. I would love to see it.
I'm with you on that. I still think that game was winnable, though.
That game was absolutely winnable. I mean, I'm not trying to go away from that, but I'm talking about winning the Super Bowl. And when Tony went down and the way things were going, and I just whatever. But that's a whole different discussion.
And I think the Joe Burrows and Mahomes. They got really a Mahomes, but that scheme they run is really good. But I think this offseason, if they're going to elevate Dak, we need obviously a good scheme, and I think the running game needs to be the number one priority. And I don't know if they re-sign Pollard. I would like them to, but if not, I think we need to go all in and draft Bijan Robinson and patch up that line a little bit. And I think that'll help Dak a lot. Yeah, just because Dak was you look at 2016 and 2018, that receiving core wasn't that. It was Dez Bryant and Beasley and Williams, and then in 18 it was Amari, Allen Hurns, and Beasley.
Oh, you had to go out and get Amari Cooper. But who was the coordinator, by the way?
Yeah, you had to. Oh, it was Linehan, but
exactly.
They were
exactly.
Those were Dak.
What did that coordinator emphasize from a schematic standpoint? Right, play action. Under center, using Dak's legs, screens, right? Exactly. Hitting the deep shots, right? It was a little bit. It was a little bit different than what we got now. This coordinator does not emphasize those things.
No, it's with Kellen. It seems like they want the vertical passing game, and I just don't think that's Dak's skill set. You look at what the 49ers do with Purdy and stuff. I think Dak's ceiling is an elite game manager, and you can win with that. Especially with that defense and stuff.
I personally think
run the right team
game manager gets a bad rep. I think it does.
Yeah.
Now, can you be? I think he's a game manager that from time to time can. All right, we got to go win this thing, and let me make these throws. But I don't even know that I want a quarterback that has to be a gunslinging quarterback the whole entire damn game. I don't want that. There's only a couple of those dudes in the league that can happen without, Josh Allen is asked to do that all the time. And that's why Josh Allen is top 3 in turnovers over the last 2 seasons or 3 seasons, because they're asking him to do too damn much, in my opinion. And he's a phenomenal talent. But I'd rather have a quarterback or system that I only need you to do that from time to time. But being an elite, Jalen Hurts is an elite game manager.
Exactly.
There you go.
I agree, and that's where I want to go. With the Cooper Rush thing, I know his skill set is not as good as Dak, but I will say, he made that throw that Dak missed Gallup on. I think Cooper Rush makes that throw. You look at some of the throws he made.
How would you evaluate
the Giants game?
Okay, how would you evaluate Cooper Rush when he went up against a better defense in Philadelphia on the road?
See, that's tricky because that game. I look at it. That was like a hornet's nest to go into. They had Meek Mills performing on the sideline.
So
it was
divisional round playoff game against a better defense and coordinator is not a hornet's nest.
I don't know. That was just a different atmosphere. And I'm not blaming. Yeah, Cooper Rush didn't play good, but he did bring them back to one score, and the defense didn't. And I'm not saying Cooper Rush needs to be the quarterback. I think they definitely need to be a little quarterback competition just to give. Dak needs some pressure on him. He needs to get it together. I think he can do it. We just need to change the scheme and get that running game going, because that's when he was the most effective, I believe. I mean, the 2016 team, I felt like we beat Green Bay. We're going to the Super Bowl. We just started off flat. 2018, we get the lead against the Rams, and then we just played conservative after that. I think the Rams were stuffing the box, and we should have kept throwing the ball when after Cooper got that touchdown. But
don't forget they gave up 300 yards against the Rams, and then don't forget third and 20 against Aaron Rodgers. There's other things that happen in the game.
Yeah, but we have the defense, so I think they should invest in the running game and then go all in the defense and maybe sign a receiver. But I don't think we need like Odell Beckham and stuff like that. And
I don't trust. If you want to go all run game, you want to be the run game, the run offense. I told y'all this before. If you're going to be a team that relies on the defense, right, in the run game, then you need to have 3 backs, in my opinion, and you need to have a run scheme. I don't trust Kellen Moore to lean on the run game. You could draft Bijan Robinson. You could draft Adrian Peterson. I don't trust him to lean on the run game consistently because he doesn't have a scheme, number one, right? And that's not in his DNA. He said, all my life I had to fight to not throw that ball in this game. That was with Cooper Rush. He said that with Cooper Rush at quarterback. So if you're going to do that, you got to scratch Kellen Moore. You got to get a run scheme in here, and then you got to commit to 3 backs that you're going to get involved with, and you might not even have 2 of the dudes that played last year. So, I think that's a tall task to ask. I think you just need to get a coordinator in here that can elevate guys, man, and then obviously give them some weapons to work with, and then now you say, all right, Dak, let's go.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that's the problem with Kellen. There was really no identity with the offense this year. It was just kind of like, what are we going to do this week? What are we going to do? It's just, the team, like the 2016 team, we were going to run the ball down your throat, and there's nothing you can do about it. Same with 2018, and I think the identity, man. And we have identity on defense. It's play fast.
We didn't got no identity.
Establish an identity. Yeah, there's no identity on offense. That's what I agree. But I'm gonna let you go. I appreciate the phone call. It's first time calling, and love the show. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks for calling in. I definitely 100% agree with that. We do not have an identity, but that's, again, this ain't new. All these things being said today has been said for months, if not years. But I thought that was funny. What do you think about Cooper Rush in Philly? Man, they had Meek Mill playing. It was a hornet's nest over there in Philly. In week 6? Oh, okay. I thought going to San Francisco in a divisional round against the best defense in the league and one of the best coordinators and is a lion's den per se. But hey, hold up, wait a minute. Too much to overcome that one. All right, I got to end this thing with my guy Marv. And I gotta talk to my friend. What's good, Mar?
Oh man, just chilling. When I called you today, y'all got some good points, everybody. But if you don't change the route tree, you still gonna have the same problem with the receivers. They know our routes, and you need to do a West Coast offense that'll make Dak Prescott.
You about to repeat everything you said yesterday,
Yeah, I'm just sick of hearing about we need all these receivers. Man, you got so many fast receivers on that team, and that's why you had a problem with Tolbert, because he's thinking too much. You're like, oh, should I run this? You know what I'm saying? And me and you playing the game, we just want to play.
And that's telling. Now listen, I will say this. All the receivers that were drafted, I think in round, after Tolbert or something like that, or on day 2, there was only a few that really stood out this year. But Tolbert not being ready, there's something to that, obviously. But he came from a small school. I'm not shocked that he wasn't ready. I'm shocked that he didn't even get a chance to suit up throughout the season. Only a few games. That shocked me though.
That shocked me.
Yeah.
In Alabama, they wanted him bad. He was going to go to Alabama. So that's why I knew the guy's talented now. Don't get him mistaken.
So that,
But, we just, that Kellen Moore, did they bring him back?
Kellen, unless we got breaking news, which I haven't seen that just quite yet. I'm pretty sure that would have dropped here in the chat. So I don't think there is any decision on Kellen Moore. If I had to guess, I would say Monday, but it could come today when he meets with Kellen Moore. In fact, that seems to make more sense, right? Like if McCarthy meets with Kellen, it's either going to be we're bringing you back or we not. So maybe we'll hear something.
Yeah, and then if y'all didn't hear the interview with Will McClay, and just get all you fans ready. The guy asked Will McClay a specific answer, and Will McClay told him, "I'm not giving all my draft capital, and then I get one player when I had 5 players." He said, "That's why you would have missed out on Bland, you'd have missed out on 87, you'd have missed out on
I don't agree with you there. I'm all about trading draft capital to get bona fide guys.
Will McClay say he's not doing it.
That ain't Will McClay.
No, Will McClay. They asked Will McClay. Only you gotta go listen to the show.
Man, because Will McClay's not making that decision. Will McClay is a scout at heart. Will McClay is a scout at heart. He don't want to trade his picks. He's a scout. And that's what he's supposed to say, man. Stephen Jones don't want to trade them things.
Oh, well, I'm going with Will McClay. And
because what is Will McClay? What's his job title? What's Will McClay's job title?
Will McClay is like
he's a what? He's like a scout.
Like a little GM with a scout.
No. He ain't no GM. I've been trying to tell y'all that for years. He ain't no GM. General managers make decisions on personnel from drafting to signing guys. That ain't Will McClay. Will McClay scouts guys. You think he wanna get rid of opportunities to draft guys that he put time and energy in to scout? No, absolutely not.
He said.
I know.
He said, he said he ain't gonna trade all his players for one player.
Right. But he should. But because he's a scout. But if Will McClay was the general manager and they came to Will McClay and said, "Hey, dog, we'll give you DeAndre Hopkins for Ezekiel Elliott in the 2nd round pick," he gonna say no? Come on. You know damn well he trading that 2nd round pick in Ezekiel Elliott for DeAndre Hopkins.
Well, they might do that.
I know.
A number 2 pick for Hawkins. Yeah, that's easy.
But that happened. That actually happened, is what I'm saying. They traded our version of Ezekiel Elliott, David Johnson, and a 2nd round pick and got back the best receiver in football at the time. You know what Dallas does? They get rid of one of the best receivers for a 5th round pick in a bag of chips.
No, that was stupid. No, I understand what you're saying there. We should have got like at least a 2. You know what I'm saying?
He's not Anthony G.
14.
He is a scout, bro. I'm telling you, and a player person like the pro personnel scout as well. Y'all think I'm not just saying that just to say that, man. Like Will McClay, they ask for opinions. He gives his opinions. They say this is what we're looking for. That we want guys that fit this criteria. Go look for those guys, and they present them to him, and then Stephen Jones decide whether he wants to sign them or not.
Yeah,
that's what he does here in Dallas, man. Like
that was on that,
and that's no knock to Will McClay. That's no knock to Will McClay. It's just the fact that's the structure in Dallas is structured in a way that is not structured around the league. The only other organization that was structured like that and they failed for years and years and years was the Cincinnati Bengals until Mike Brown said, "Hey, dog, I gotta step back, man. I gotta let these guys do their thing." They hired a general manager. They ended up signing guys, spending money, drafting better, and boom, what do you know?
Well, the Cowboys, what they said on that show, and on a lot of shows I've been listening to, they said the Cowboys draft better than a lot of people.
But draft is not going to do it. Drafting better is just, you can't just draft. You can't.
When you sign a quarterback, that's when you get in trouble.
That's not true. I mean, listen, there's many ways to, there's multiple ways to skin a cat. Dallas hasn't found a way to do it.
Well, they still like everybody keep making excuses. So last year we still lost. If we don't change that offensive way the schemes and stuff, it's gonna happen again. We're gonna win 12 games again next year, and all Cowboy fans gonna be pissed off again because he's running the same stupid routes, and we're gonna have a stupid look on our face at the same time next year because the receivers running stupid routes instead of going to let them play. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man.
Yeah,
That's what
man.
I'm sick of.
Sure.
The routes is killing us. So that's all I gotta say. It's good we got Dan Quinn back, y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about I think some of the guys last year we did the same thing. It's almost deja vu. Who benefits the most from Dan Quinn returning? We'll talk about that next week. Appreciate you calling in, Mark.
All right, fam.
I'm not trying to come at Will McClay, man. I'm not trying to come at Will McClay. You know, Will McClay is probably the only damn reason why this team is even in goddamn on contention. In regards to like the personnel, right? In regards to personnel. I forgot to do super chats yesterday. And I know if I forget to do them 2 days in a row, y'all gonna kill me. So let me get to these super chats right quick. Lots of them. Lots. Appreciate y'all.
Super chat.
Derek Small says, Sky, what you think about Bobby Slowick as offensive coordinator? Well, that was the guy we talked about earlier in the week about potential guys. Now, if Kellen does get fired and they decide to move on, we'll do a more in-depth show. Happens that Frank Wright was also another guy, but I still have him written down here. Bobby Slowick, 49ers pass game coordinator. Wes Welker, Dolphins wide receiver coach, and Scott Turner were 3 of the 4 names that I listed as guys that could be potential replacements. Coach Marv dropped one.
Super chat.
Sky, tell me what NFL team that don't have a run game coordinator. I know Dallas. Yeah, I don't know who. I don't know. I have to actually go look at that. I know Dallas doesn't. Dallas hasn't had a run game coordinator since Callahan, if I'm not mistaken.
Super chat.
Mike Jacobs, people don't get it. Dak can only run the scheme and not working. If he leaves, they will regret seeing him succeed in a good scheme. You know, I 100% think if he goes to another team that has quality coaching, that he'll be fine, right? He'll be fine. It's a good quarterback. Like Will said, oh, there's teams that will want him. Well, if there's teams that will want him, he can't be as bad as you say he is. Like if he's not that dude, why would you know? But that's another thing. We don't wipe those 304s.
Super chat.
PFF has us getting Deron Payne in free agency. Cannot wait to get into free agency stuff. It used to be really exciting. Then the more you start, the more you do this with the Cowboys, you really, they're not really going to sign X, Y, Z. But we still got to explore those options.
Super chat.
And Coach Marv says, Sky, the Jones family are about the star. It stands for seen, talked about relentlessly. Oh, can I get a? Jerry said it. Well, if they're talking about us, we're doing our job. Like nobody, like that don't bother y'all. That bothered me more than anything. I digress. We got a quarterback problem in Dallas for 30 years. B Bird, or not B Bird, Spot, can you save me?
Super chat.
And I think I read this already. Appreciate you. I said B Bird made a great point. That's what you mentioned earlier. Appreciate that. Coach Marv.
Super chat.
Said, Sky, the Diggs drop ENT on go-ahead touchdown by San Francisco was just as big of a Dak ENT or bigger. Coach, context doesn't matter, man. I tried to utilize Monday and then yesterday as, all right, let's talk about the quarterback. He had a bad game, obviously. I know that's the biggest headline. And then I was hoping that we would start to get into the rest of the situation, but I just don't think that'll ever happen here in Dallas, man. I don't think it'll ever happen. I don't think context ever matters. And that's the whole point of me doing what I do, is to provide context. If we wanted to just take the low-hanging fruit, the 4-letter networks, that's easy. Just go watch those shows. And if you get upset when we start providing context to the organization, this ain't going to be it for you, man. This ain't going to be it for you. Send the Mafia. That was yesterday, B-Bird.
Super chat.
Will wanted to send the mafia to Dax. That just goes to show you the venom my guy had. He legitimately wants to scare Dak Prescott out of Dallas. That's where we're at, man. We're so upset with the Q that we will ignore everything else, and we want to send the mafia to Dak's door to get him up out of here, and everything's gonna be fine. Yo, wow, man. Y'all absolutely wow. Absolutely wow. King dropped one yesterday.
Super chat.
You have a defense that held the best to 19, and you want to tank the nerve.
Super chat.
Dwayne Brown, with receivers, we still had. With receivers, we had Kellen Moore. I think you're saying we still got Kellen Moore, so that's the point. Yeah. I'm about moving on from him. I don't give a damn if they bring Randy Moss back, type situation.
Super chat.
You also said if all the haters want Dak gone, beg him to waive the no trade, we will send you to the Rams or 49ers. I swear, I said this to a couple of my 49er fan friends, and they were like, shit, we'll take that. Now, this is before Purdy became, Purdy right now. They realize, well, we don't need, we're fine, right? Like, we're about to go to the Super Bowl, hopefully. But they like, yeah, put Dak Prescott in this offense, MVP. Easy. But look at Brock Purdy. They put up Brock Purdy's numbers next to Jalen Hurts' numbers over the last 8 weeks or whatever it was. His numbers were better. I don't think Brock Purdy's better. I just think he is with an organization that is way better than the Cowboys organization, and obviously a scheme that's way better than the Cowboys scheme, and a team that's better than the Cowboys team. Just flat out. Ooh, you right, Bruce. I probably should bring back you absolutely. Do I got it? I'm gonna bring it back. I'm going to bring that back because they're definitely conditioned, 100%. David dropped one yesterday. This ain't possible, but I think it's funny.
Super chat.
Dan Quinn, head coach. Mike McCarthy, offensive coordinator. Ain't gonna happen. Calvin said,
Super chat.
Can you trade a player with the no trade clause in his contract? The player has to agree to it. The player has to agree to it. And that's that, Cowboys Nation. Tough day, personally, but we pushed through it. I appreciate y'all for being. I didn't realize we had this many people up in here, man. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I got to get going, though, and I'll be back next week. And figure this out. I told y'all this yesterday. We'll figure out how we're going to do this thing with the offseason here. I'm looking to make some changes, but we'll be back next week. No show for Mo today. Obviously, no show with Vach either. It's Friday. Those are the days off. But if you enjoyed today's show and the others, hit that like button. Come on back. Subscribe. We'll be back next week with more content. Getting into the off season is best that we can. I know it's always going to veer back to Dak Prescott. Get him up out of here. He sucks. He's not good enough type situation. But we do have to talk about actually building the team and moving forward. And trying to get back to this point and elevate because he's going to be here. That's just a fact. He's going to be here. And if he's not, then we'll talk about that. But with that said, press this button and make sure y'all enjoy y'all weekend and be safe. Be safe. Why are acting crazy this week? Shout out to Pick Six Sports. Shout out to the content creators that dropped in here, man. Landlord, I saw you, Tuck. DMV's always up in here. Professor Rowe, Nix, all you guys. Appreciate y'all as well, man. Continue to hold it down for the nation, dog. We out of here. Happy Friday.